Church, you may be seated. Thank you. God is so, so, so mighty and so, so, so good. And I'm so, so glad I serve Him and that I know Him and that He knows me. Happy Mother's Day to all of our mothers. And if you're not a mother, that you're a woman, same thing. It's all in us. We're all made the same. And we're nurturing people. And if you're not a mother because you've not brought a child into the world yet, you still have that gift inside of you that God placed there, that you are a woman on a mission, and that's what my title is this morning, Women on a Mission. And I don't know any woman in this place who is not on a mission or should be on a mission. So I'm very thankful. Let me give you a little update on Pastor real quick. Some people have been asking already. We did take him in Friday morning. It was a long, long, long day. I think we got up about 3 o'clock in the morning. He had to be at the hospital at 6:30. We got him there, and they took him back into surgery about 8:30. It was a 2-hour surgery. They did take the halo off, thank God. That thing is gone. But they had to do additional surgery. They had to put some little plates in his heel because when he crushed the heel, I think I've told y'all that, when he crushed the heel, he lost a little bit of height in that heel, of course. So they went in there. The doctor kind of said it was like shimmying up a door. You know, you just kind of stick it in there. So he put that in there, and then some 2 pins as well. Then which I thought was really cool, he went in to the leg, and kind of like a camera went in there, and he cut some. I'm not a doctor. He cut something up in there. He cut it, and what it's going to happen is it's going to attach itself to something else and begin to grow, and it's going to give him height there as well that he needed, that he had lost. And, of course, I told the surgeon, I said, he said, wonder how I could go and see if he'd give me a little height. And, of course, he's just teasing, but the doctor said the sad thing is people really do that. They'll go in for surgery for height. I thought it's not worth it. Not worth it. God knows exactly what He's doing when He made me the height I am. But He's doing good with all of that. What He's dealing with all day, the rest of the day Friday, all night Friday night, and some yesterday is just sickness. He's very, very sick. I guess from the medicine that they gave him, trying to come out of that. So I don't think I've ever seen my husband that sick. I think that was the worst of the whole everything. It's just he's just so sick he couldn't even hardly move. So he's doing much better, just on that road to recovery, and hopefully on that road to being back here. So I miss my husband in the house of God. I miss him here with me. We've been married a long time, and I can't ever remember a time that we've went this long that he's not been in church with me. So he'll be here, and this will be a story that we'll tell. It'll be, I told Cheryl this morning, I said, this is his journey. This is his journey. Everybody's got a journey. And this is his journey, part of his journey. And, we're almost over. It's almost over. So we'll just, one day we'll look, and he'll be able to preach about it and tell about what God has done for him. And, we all have a journey. And sometimes on that journey, there's good days. And sometimes on that journey, there's bad days. But on that journey, there's one thing that is the common denominator in all of it, is that there's God. And He'll never leave us nor forsake us. Hence the song we sang this morning, You Are For Me, and I know that He is. For a brief moment, can we just I know it's Mother's Day, but can we just give God praise for just a moment? Can we just lift our voices? If your mother has gone on and she's not with you, just thank God that He is still here with you. If your mother's sitting beside you, thank God for that mother. Jesus, I love you, God. I praise you, Lord. God, I want to give a special shout out to my mother, Lord Jesus. I honestly would not be who I am today had it not been for a mother like mine. And I thank you for her, Lord Jesus. I thank you, God, that my mother is right here with me right now, Lord Jesus, that you granted me that. And I love her and I thank you for her, Jesus. And I praise your holy name. Thank you, Jesus. Mothers on a mission. What is my mission as a woman or as a mother? My mission is to love. My mission is to teach. My mission is to nurture. My mission is to make a positive difference and influence in the lives of others, especially my own children and or my family. All right? Every woman is important. And compassion for others will help her find true purpose in life. Did Shamri just go through there? Maybe if I walked through there, they might. I doubt it. No woman is useless. She may feel as if she is, but that is the way the devil wants her to feel. He really does. Every woman should be on fire with a mission. The Bible is filled with women who cared enough about others and God's kingdom to do something. And I'm going to give you a few examples of that. Jochebed, all right? She changed the tide of history by having the courage to stand against the king's decree. From her godly motherhood came the following three great leaders. Moses, who became one of the greatest national leaders and legislators this world has ever known. Aaron, who became Israel's first high priest. And Miriam, who was the gifted poet and musician. Hannah, she gave the world Samuel, who became a prophet and a judge of Israel. She prayed him into existence. Esther, she saved the whole Jewish nation from death and destruction. Mary, she became the vessel that brought Jesus to the world. And Dorcas, she was a Christian who sewed many garments from other Christians and for other Christians and was so loved that when she died, many grieved her death. The scripture says about her, this woman was full of good works and alms deeds which she did. Among her good works was that of fashioning coats and garments for widows and the needy of her church and community. And Lydia, I always say I'm going to pray for Lydia. She was a businesswoman who was known for her Christian hospitality and open house. She was a devout woman. Any woman who helps another will be blessed by God, and others will be glad she lived. So long as we live, we serve. So long as we are loved by others, I would almost say we are indispensable. And no woman is useless while she has a friend. Everybody here has a friend. Everybody here has a friend. If you don't, I'm your friend, so you have a friend. All right? Women with a mission have many fine character traits. Three important ones are the following. Submission. They obeyed what God put in their heart. When Mary was told that she would be the mother of the Messiah, she said, behold the handmaid of the Lord. Be it unto me according to thy word. When Esther was told that she had come to the kingdom for such a time as this, she said, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. Sometimes we will be asked of God to do something that we really don't want to do or that makes us nervous or scared. Sometimes it's a calling directly from God, or sometimes it's through your pastor. He may ask you to do something that you don't have any idea why in the world he would ask me to do that. Or that's not really down the road that I thought I was supposed to go. There is a process. There's a process, okay? When I married my husband in June the 30th, 1990, when I married him, he wasn't even called to preach. I did not marry not even a preacher, much less a pastor. I didn't marry even a preacher. I married for love, but God called. And so, when I married him, I have actually heard women say, "Oh, I'm gonna marry a preacher. I'm gonna marry a preacher." And I thought, well, if that's the only thing you're looking for, good luck on that. It's not as easy as you think. It's not the easiest life you think. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it's not for people to be searching for just that one particular thing. Now, when he called my husband, after we'd been married for a few years, he called my husband. He called me too, and gave us what we needed. But I didn't marry a preacher. I didn't marry that. It was a process. God knew the future. He knew I would be a pastor's wife, uh, but I didn't know that, and that's not what I was just, you know, seeking the will of God for my life. And my pastor was all about our dating. My pastor was all about us getting married. So it all worked out well. What if I'd have been prophesied over when I was 10 that you're going to be a pastor's wife? Well, you know what? I might have missed out on one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. I can't marry him. He's not even called to preach. And that was prophesied over me. Listen, if the only thing that can stand between you and a prophecy that's been prophesied over you is you. If you've been called, if God prophesied, somebody prophesied, God told them something about you, not one person in this entire world can change that or do anything about that except for yourself. If that prophecy is right, it will come to pass. Sometimes it's a process, but it will happen. But the only person I've heard Brother, trying to think of his name, Brother, some of you would know who I'm talking about, Kleindienst. He said one time, talking about prophesying over people, he said, there has been prophecy given to people about their finances. You will be blessed in your finances. So what happened when these people were not blessed is because they went hog wild, because they didn't stay where they ought to be. I'm going to got all this money coming. Well, you messed your prophecy up because you weren't staying in the will of God, and you just kind of messed it up there. Remember that, the only person that can stand between you and the prophecy that was given on you is yourself. Devotion. They had a desire to know God and pray to Him. Prayer to Him was a part of their lifestyle. Hannah prayed. Lydia, she worshiped God. And Mary, blessed art thou among women. And Mary said, my soul doth magnify the Lord. And the third thing is courage. Although often afraid, they accomplished their work with bravery and determination. Esther was afraid and did not want to do what she had been asked to do because it could mean her death. But she did it anyway, saying, if I perish, I perish. All right? Women with a mission are alive and vibrant and live meaningful lives. Seemingly insignificant women take on a new glow of radiance when they become women with a mission. This is exemplified by the following story about a jewel. A gentleman once visited a great jewelry store owned by a friend. His friend showed him magnificent diamonds and other splendid stones. Amongst these stones, his eyes lighted on one that seemed quite lustreless and pointed to it. He said, that has no beauty at all. But his friend put it in the hollow of his hand and shut his hand, and then in a few moments opened it again. What a surprise. The entire stone gleamed with all the splendors of the rainbow. What have you done to it? Asked the astonished gazer. His friend answered, this is an opal. It is what we call the sympathetic jewel. It only needs to be gripped with the human hand to bring out its wonderful beauty. When a woman grips another human hand and helps them to Christ, she too glows with a new beauty and purpose. As she is held in the hollow of the Master's hand, she in turn will fulfill his mission, which is to save the world. It is when a woman touches Christ that she can then touch others, and she will be made beautiful. Their minds are turned outward instead of always reflecting on self. Of course, starting in our own homes is the best place to begin. And my children, although they are grown, they are my heart. My children are my heart. I've always strived to be a positive example to my children. When they were growing up, it was a constant burden on me every day to guide them. I listened to them. I would watch them when they didn't even know that I was, to make sure that they were heading in that right direction. I always kept an eye. You know, have you ever heard the saying, blinded by love? I would pray that. I'd say, God, don't let me be blinded by love. Don't let the love that I have for my children blind me of who they are. Um, if I do that, then I cannot truly teach them. If I'm, of course, I know, Alyssa, that I love my children more than anybody in this room. Nobody loves these two more than me. Nobody in this room loves you more than your grandma, okay, your grandpa. But I will say this. If I love them, I am blinded to a certain extent. But Lord, don't let me be blinded where I miss something in training and teaching my kids, because it's going to hurt them. That's the ones it's going to hurt. We need to love our children. We need to guide them and love them and discipline them, give them advice so that when they face this world, they can become a good influence on others as well as I would have been on them, that I could be on them. Here are a few people that you all may know. Some of you may not know, I don't know, but who have this to say about their mothers. Abraham Lincoln. All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. Catherine Booth, co-founder of the Salvation Army. The longer I live, the more I appreciate my mother's character. She had an intense realization of spiritual things. Heaven seemed quite near, instead of being, as with many, a far-off reality. John Wesley, he was the leader of the Methodist movement. He said, my mother was the source from which I derived the guiding principles of my life. John Wanamaker, he was a pioneer in marketing, Heath. Back in the brickyard of Philadelphia, my mother taught me the principles of success. Thomas Edison, everybody knows who he is. My mother was the making of me. She was so true, so sure of me. I felt I had something to live for. I must not disappoint her. The good effects of my early training I can never lose. If it had not been for her appreciation and her faith in me during a critical time in my experience, I should very likely never have become an inventor. Wendell Phillips, he's an advocate for the Native Americans and an attorney, said, whatever I have done in my life has simply been due to the fact that when I was a child, my mother daily read with me a part of the Bible and made me learn a part of it by heart. George Washington, I attribute all my success in life to the moral, intellectual, and physical education I received from my mother. And Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motors, he said, I have tried to live my life as my mother would have wished. She taught me as a boy that service is the highest duty in this world. I believed her then, and I believe her now. I have tried to follow her teaching. Children are a heritage. Psalms 127:3, lo, children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Mother, you are the most important influence in your child's life. You are important and have much work to do in taking care of God's heritage. You will influence your child, either for the good or for the bad, but you will influence your child. I think a lot of times we raise our children the way that we were raised ourselves. A lot of times that you'll see that come out. And I'm gonna hit on my mom. She's back there. I'm gonna hit on her, but I know it's not Father's Day, but when it come to nurturing, now don't get me wrong. My mother could put a hurting on you. I don't know if any of you've ever saw the Cosby Show, but Claire Huxtable is my mother growing up. I mean, you know, it's my dad and holding her back instead of the other way around. My dad told me, he said I couldn't. He said, well, now these are his words, not mine. So yeah, I'm not trying to sound like the best little girl up here because I got it from her. But my dad said, really, I didn't. There was no need to whip you. You was a good girl. He said, but I was afraid to whip you because you were so little. I was afraid I'd hurt you. And I was so little. I think my dad's dad thought I was going to be a little person because I was such a little bitty thing, and it took me a while to get some height on me, which didn't really say much now, does it? But my dad, in growing up, my dad was more of the disciplinarian in the home, even though he never really, whipped me much or anything, but. My dad was the type of person that he'd tell it to you straight. And they laugh at me now because I think I'm a little more like my dad than I am my mom. She's shaking her head. I think my sister and I are a lot like my dad, and my brother is more like my mother. He's a little bit more calm. He's a little bit more easygoing. It's strange that my mother was not growing up, but she is now. She'd get you, but she'd get you and then it was over with. With my dad, it was an all-day event. You got in trouble, it was all day long. Next time he saw you, there it was again, you know. At the time, I didn't like it. I'm looking back on my life, and I see where my dad had so much love for me that he was concerned about me as an adult. What kind of, if he doesn't teach me now, while he's able, then what kind of adult am I going to be? I can remember being in school, my dad would say, listen, the conduct part of your report card better be all S's, satisfaction, satisfaction. If there was any N, needs satisfaction, needs an improvement, I think it was, needs improvement. If there was an N, you're in trouble. Now, there could be, and mine wasn't, but there could be an F on my big brother on his big old report card. That's fine. That's fine. Well, it stands for Frank. That's fine. F's are fine. D's are fine. I mean, he would rather that you wouldn't, but he didn't make a big deal out of it. This is what he would say. He'd say, listen, you can't help stupid, but you can keep your mouth shut. That's what he tells us. You can't help stupid, but you can keep your mouth shut. He said, you might get in there and not understand, and you get a low grade, and you need to study. That's on you. He said, but you come home and you don't, because you ain't kept your mouth shut, boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. Well, I had a teacher. I don't know why she did this to me. I was a very quiet kid. Maybe that's why, I don't know. But we were in school. I was in elementary school, and she got a hold of me for some reason. I don't know if she's having a bad day, but she said, I come in late or something. I don't know what was going on. I had come in late, and it was lunchtime, and she said to me, she said, you're gonna eat this lunch. I don't want it. I remember it was chicken. And she said, you're gonna eat it. And she grabbed my chicken up with her hand and started shredding it with her fingers. Shamari just and I can remember thinking, what am I going to do? I don't want it, especially after she's done that to it, and she's shredding it into little pieces. And I'm just sitting there in this shy, I'm trapped. I don't know what to do. And we sat there, and I didn't eat. She said, you're going to eat it. And you're going to sit right here until you do. And so we had a couple of girls that washed the table after lunch. And she said, you come back with them, and you better eat them, I asked them. And they were my friends, and they didn't want to tell, but we got back to class, and she grabbed my arm, and she would have me in front of the whole class, and she said, did she eat? And my friend Nina Ivy, I'll never forget her name, she said, no, ma'am. And she jerked my arm like this, and, of course, I'm holding it together, and I go and I sit down, I finish the day. I get on the school bus. I go all the way home. I get off the school bus. I'm walking to the house, and my dad comes outside doing something. And as soon as I saw my dad, it was the most ugly cry. It was like I held it in all that time, and it was like, and I started trying to tell him. He's trying to understand what I'm saying. To this day, Mom, to this day, all I know is the next day my dad went to that school. Don't know what he said. Don't know how he said it. But she was as nice to me as you would have ever wanted a teacher to be from that point on. Well, I had an end on my conduct at the end of the school year. And I went to her and I said, Miss So-and-so, would you change this for me? And she said, yeah. She changed it, you know. But my dad, I'll never forget that. He didn't make a big deal out of it. He didn't throw down on my teacher to me. To this minute, I don't know what he said. But he took me to school the next day. I went to class. He handled it, and there was not a problem after that. You don't mess with people's children. You don't mess with their children. That meant the world to me that my dad would take care of that. Christmases. He always made Christmases the best ever, ever, ever. We didn't get all through the year, but when we got a gift, it was the best. I'm talking about dune buggies, four-wheelers, name it, we got it. He stepped all out, although through the year we didn't get anything. My sister told me that my dad, that she had went to a friend's house, and they were going to go shopping, and the friend's dad handed her $100 bill. And my sister said, now y'all, this was back in the 80s, okay, and my sister said she had never seen a $100 bill. She'd never really even seen one. And she was like, wow. And so they went shopping, and you know, a $100 bill, especially back then, would buy quite a bit. And so this friend was buying all kinds of things with this $100 bill. She got home. One of the dresses she bought, she tried it on. She pulled it off, threw it in the closet. You never saw it again. She just threw it in the floor. And my sister's like, oh, my word. She went home, and she told my dad about that. She said, he gave her $100. He said, Lori, first of all, I don't have a $100 bill to give you. But second of all, if I did, I would not have given that to you. Why? Because you'll never learn the value of that $100 bill if I just casually give it to you like that to go shop. You would never have learned. He was that type of dad where if you look at it in one way, you think he's being mean, but he was not. He was not. He taught us. We drive down the road and he'd find the ugliest shack he could find. He's going, that's where you're going to live when you grow up, just to get you going. No, I'm not going to live like that, Dad. I'm not going to. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Just picking on us. But it was my dad that put that in us to try harder. He said, I'm going to tell you something. When you grow up, when you get grown, if I see that you're helping yourself, I'll help you. But if you're not helping yourself, I'm not helping you. And that meant a lot to me, Sister Johnson. That meant a lot. That meant a lot to me because, and he has stuck with that. He has stuck with that. I don't want handouts. My kids aren't going to, and I'm that same way. Listen, I'll help you, you help yourself. You don't help yourself, you're on your own. You know, they're grown adults now. Help yourself. You know, they pay their own car insurance. They pay their own gas. They buy their own groceries. They make their own way. And that means a lot to me. Well, don't they still live at home? They do. They do, but they help with groceries. Why? Because I'm trying to teach them how to manage their money when they get on their own. They buy their own clothes. They buy their own. They make their own way. They make their own dinner a lot, especially Heath. He makes his own dinner quite a bit. Why? Because I'm trying to train my kids to be on their own one day and not have to depend on me this whole time. Let children, love your children enough to do this. Set standards for them. Let the children know what is expected of him or her. Proverbs 1:8 says, my son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Children are happier when they have guidelines. They just are. You know, my dad set some guidelines for us, and there you go. I might have told y'all this before, but there was a time when it was very popular to go to school and go to your counselor and tell your counselor a bunch of stuff from home. Well, then, you know, they have no choice but to report that. And then when they report it, these parents were getting in trouble for things that really never even took place, or that was, you know, blown out of proportion and all of that. And my dad came to us. He didn't say, hey, y'all don't go do that. Don't. And there's nothing wrong with doing it that way, but he didn't do that. He said, listen, you go to the counselor and you tell the counselor a bunch of junk, you better make it real, real, real good so they take you away forever. Because when they bring you back home, you ain't seen ugly till you know, and we're like, you know, I mean, it's just, that's just the way it is. You're going to tell a lie, you better make it real good till they take you away forever, because you wait till I get my hands on you when they put you back in this house. All right? You gotta know my dad to appreciate that. Proverbs 3:13, happy is the man that findeth wisdom and the man that get understanding. I'm thankful that my dad put the guidelines in us for that. And I know it's Mother's Day, and I'm going to get on my mother, but it takes a strong head of the home to help that mother, that she can be the mother. It really does. And if you don't have that, you can be both with the Lord's help or with your pastor's help. You can. But I'm very thankful for my dad. He'd buy a piece of candy, go in the store and buy the kind he was going to get us. He didn't ask you what kind you wanted. He'd go in there and get you one. And then he'd say, you want this candy? Oh, yeah, thanks, Dad. You want this candy? Yeah. Do you want this candy? Yes, sir. Then you get the candy. What was he teaching me? Respect. He was teaching me respect. At the time, I was like, well, I don't even know if I want it now, if I'm going to have to go through all that. Now I appreciate it. Now I appreciate it. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Be consistent. Consistency is one of the most important ingredients in training a child. It used to bother me when I would see a parent not being consistent with a child. I was like, can you, what? But then I grew up and I realized that that's their child. I don't have to go home with that child. If they're not consistent, I don't have to go home with that child. They have to tend to that child. If they let them by because they're not going to discipline that child because they know you want them to. So they're just not going to do it because they want, you know, I know you want me to whip my child, so I'm not going to do it. Because you want, well, you know what you're hurting? Yourself and that child. That's who you're hurting. And I finally had to let that go. I thought, you know what? That they got to live with that child. That child's going to become an adult in their home, not mine. And if they're going to let it go, let it go. Has anybody ever seen The Nanny? You know, The Nanny, where she goes into their home and she's teaching them how to discipline their children. He said, Mama, which I haven't watched it in a long time. That's an old show. But I'd watch that. And he'd say, Mom, why are you watching that? It's tearing your nerves all up. Why do you do that to yourself? I said, I don't know, but I could get my hands on some of them little children. I mean, they would just get so ugly. They get so ugly with their parents. It wasn't that child's fault. You know whose fault that was? The parent. It was that parent's fault. Children acting up in church. It's that parent. You know what? They're on Heath's leg. Right around, or Sean's leg, but I say Heath because he wore little pants. Right around this area of the leg, that's where you can get that pants leg up. On this area of the leg, Heath, you remember that? And that's a good place to just give them a little pop. It's not going to kill them. Proverbs 29:15. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left himself bringeth his mother to shame. Proverbs 23:13. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. And we all know what beat means, right? We all know what beat means. It's not gonna kill him to give him a little pop, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. This is an unknown author. It says, the rod will not kill the child, but will prevent him from killing himself. And I'll tell you this, If I withhold that from my children, I'll tell you somebody who won't, and that's that police officer. He carries those rods in his little, for some reason, for a purpose. And if I don't discipline my children, somebody will. Somebody definitely will. Listen, I know a lot of us, our children are raised, a lot of us. But there may be somebody watching that needs to hear this. And it's one of those things, I'm going to be a pastor's wife to you this morning. It's one of those things where you feel like, well, she kind of telling me how to raise. This is Bible. This is Bible right here, telling you, we need to discipline our children when they're young, and we need to keep that going when they're older. My mother is a rock to me, but I'll tell you what, I'm almost 40 something. I don't even know how old I am, Mother. I'm 45, and Lord help me, Jesus, it just left me. I'm almost 46 years old, and I would not ever disrespect that lady right there. Why? Because I was taught better than that. I was taught better than that. Um, Train up a child in the way of the Lord. Teach them to obey. Ephesians 6:1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. This is right, okay? Um, Colossians 3:20, children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing in the Lord. Well, Sister Dotson, what if my parents don't serve God? What if they're not serving God? You obey your parents. Don't disobey the Word of God, but you obey those parents, okay? To the best of your ability, you obey those parents, okay, without disobeying the Word. And I'll tell you where you go if you find yourself in that. Somebody may be watching. Say, I live in a home where my parents don't serve God, but I want to, and they won't allow me. I'll tell you the thing to do. Get on your knees and pray every day. Every day, God, you know I want to serve you, but my parents are hindering me from doing so. You pray every day. The Lord He'll move mountains for you. He will work that out. He wants you to serve Him. All right? Uh, we need to teach our kids to be honest. Romans 12:17. It says, the one I looked up says, uh, render to them no evil. Let's see, render to no man evil for evil. Take thought for the things honorable in thy sight of all men. All right, so we need to teach our kids to be honest. Be very honest. Take them to church consistently. When my husband when we first had Shawn Marie, first got married actually, and then Shawn Marie came along 3 years later. He worked night shift, and he would wake up Sunday morning, and he'd be up all day long from Sunday morning. He'd be up all day long, and then he had to go into work that night. And he'd go into work at 11. He worked 11 to 7. So from the time he woke up on Sunday morning, he would be up till Monday morning. And we had service Sunday morning and Sunday night. He would try to come home and rest between service times, but a lot of times that didn't. He couldn't fall asleep for whatever reason. We lived 30 minutes from the church, and so and you had to be there for choir practice. You had to be there for things going on. So a lot of times he didn't get any rest. But I tell you what, he always went to church. He never missed, even though he'd fall asleep sometimes on the way home. Worried me to death. He'd just be driving and drift off, and so a lot of prayer went into that. But he would pull up and just lay in the car before he could even get out to come inside the house to go to bed, because he wanted to take his family to church. And he worked night shift for 5 years, and I think he worked. He might have. I think he got day shift before Heath was born. But he wanted to show that consistency, and that means a lot to me. And it's still, my children still hear and see that. Have fun with them. Have fun with your kids. Go on vacations. Take outings together, things like that. And you can do things that it doesn't even cost money to do. There are some things that don't even cost money to do. Be their friend. Be your kid's friend. Listen to them. If you will listen to them, you'll find out quite a bit. Um, be courteous and respectful in the way you talk to them. That's how they'll talk back to you. If you tell them they're stupid and they're no good, chances are they're going to live up to that. They're going to live up to, well, I'm stupid. What's the use in trying? I'm just stupid. When I was a little girl, my mother made me feel so important. I was her youngest, of course. Um, she was a very nurturing mother, but she was also a very she'd tell you like it is. I can remember I'm half deaf. I don't know if I ever told any of y'all I'm half deaf. I can't hear out of one ear. I'm half deaf in one ear. And I had a lot of ear trouble. And I can remember my mother would take the palm of her hand. It was always warm. And she'd stick it on my ear for what seemed to be hours and just cup it and hold it. Um, Mom, I've never forgotten that. I can remember her doing that. I can remember crying for her every day on the way to school. My dad wake us up. My mother worked. My dad would wake us up from school, and he'd say, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" Well, first of all, I was crying because I was cold. So I'd go sit on a heater and not be able to get ready because I was freezing. Second of all, I wanted my mom. I was very attached to Mom. I'd get on the school bus and cry all the way to school because I wanted my mother. I was very, very, very attached. One of those kids that probably get on your nerves. I was so attached to her mother-in-law. My grandmother said, "Why don't you put them down sometimes?" And she said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that." There was a time my mother lost me. She could not find me anywhere. We were building onto our house, so it was under construction. And my brother and sister had got on the school bus, and I wasn't in school yet. And we had made a makeshift tent-looking thing in the back of the house, and I had climbed in there and went to sleep, Jordan. And my mother was looking for me everywhere, and she could not find me. She couldn't find me, Shaw Marie. And I could remember hearing her call me, but I was so sleepy I couldn't wake up. And she kept calling my name. She called all the neighbors. The neighbors were out looking for me. Well, when she found me, I can still remember she grabbed me so tight, Cheryl, that I couldn't breathe. She was holding on so tight. She was crying. She was calling all the neighbors, letting them know she found me. She was holding me so tight I could not hardly even breathe. Well, I didn't realize the importance of that, Mom, until I had children of my own. And the thought of losing one of them, I can't even imagine. But my mother, as nurturing as she was in those areas of my life, there was a time, or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20, that my mother, she'd put the hurting on you right quick. And she owned a Dairy Queen where we grew up in Covington. She owned that Dairy Queen, and we all worked there. And there was the pass-through where the hot food would come from the kitchen to the front. Mom's laughing. And my brother was the cook, and I waited on the customers. And so I'm waiting on, I don't know, some food to come out. And it's not coming. It's not coming. The customers are yelling at me. So I'm yelling at him. And I want you to know, my mother, all the people that work there, my mama, she was harder on us than anybody. She walked right up to that pass-through, and she looked at my brother, and she looked at me, and she said, "You're fired. Go." Mama, "You're fired. Go." And I'm like, and my brother and I was like, Mama, come here. "You're fired. You can go." Do you know she fired us? We had to leave. We stayed fired for I don't know how long. Then we got rehired. We never did that again. She fired me. So I have been fired in my life by my mother. She fired us in front of everybody. Everybody. She let us go right then and there. So thank you, Mom. Thank you. I never thought I'd say that, but thank you. She influenced us in the right way. And there's 3 ways, 3 things to influence your children. Attitudes, the way you act or react. You're fired. Ambitions, the things you pursue and give yourself to. and admiration's the things you love and discuss the most. Your children will hear what's on your heart. They will hear what you discuss. What goes on in your home and the things that are important to you will affect your children for the good or for the bad. It will affect your children. And I'll tell you this, children can spot they can spot hypocrisy quicker than anything. If you say one thing at church and you live another at home, your children are going to see it. They're going to see it. They mean too much to me. Teach them the value of handling money. Shamri got her wallet out one time and she said, Mom, she said, I don't know what this is. I folded it up and I put it here for some reason. I can't remember what it is. I said, she said, I don't know if it was something I was going to give to the church or if it was going for something else. I don't know, Mom. What do you think I should do? I said, Shamri, you can never outgive God. If you don't remember if it was an offering or something like that, I'd give it. You can never outgive God. So I'd love it when she lost money. You lost any money lately, Shamri? Misplaced it. But I'd say you can never outgive God if you folded it up. And I've done that. I've come across money that I'm like, what do you do? You give it. Why? Because I wasn't sure if I had set that aside to give or not. Just give it. You can't outgive him. He'll always bless you. Teach your children to love money, in the sense of what it can do for you, where it can go, that you can put it in missions or building fund or whatever, to use it wisely. But don't love it in the sense of it's going to make you a bad person. It's going to take your dependence on God away. Love that you have it that you can give, Heath, but don't love it that it's going to change you. You know, it means that's where you put your trust in, is money, because God is your source. God is your source. Teach them that God is the source of all wealth and He should be included in all earnings. The Bible teaches us to pay our tithe and our offerings, but it also says our increase. So if you might not be paying 10% on a check, but if you get an increase of any kind at all, an increase that increased your salary, or it was an increase to you, birthday money, something like that, you should pay your tithe on that. You should pay your tithe. You cannot outgive God. And then traditions. There are some traditions that are good in your home. If you go on vacations or certain things that you do, maybe you spring picnics or something that you do in your home, you should do those things as a tradition. And your children may grow up and they may have that tradition. Maybe a little bit different, but they may have that. Now, with our family, I'll tell you this. Our vacations, we quit calling them vacations. And the reason that we quit calling them vacations when we go somewhere is because every time we go on vacation and call it a vacation, no joke, devastation, tragedy. Something would happen. We'd get bad news. It was terrible. So we just thought, well, we're not going on vacation. We're going away. We're going away, or we'll be back later or something. Because every time we'd go, we'd get these phone calls or something on our vacation would happen. But I'll tell you, we found joy in it and this is not going to mean as much to you all as it means to us, Brother Barnhill, because you all weren't there. And I'm going to tell you a story that's probably not going to be as funny to you all as it is to us. But that makes it even sweeter. I guess it's our own personal thing there. But we went on vacation. We was going to go to the beach. And Shamri said, Mom, let's get a big old beach ball. Huge. I said, okay, we'll do that. So we went to Walmart and we got this big old beach ball, humongous. Well, you can imagine what it took to blow that thing up. We blew. We took turns, as gross as that sounds. We took turns. We was trying to blow that thing up. Heath was not for it to begin with, but we blew that big old beach ball up. We finally got it. We got it going. So the next day, here we are, toting that big old beach ball. And Heath had his flip-flops on. I don't think he ever wore flip-flops then. He was younger. He had his flip flops. You know how you are. You know, people that aren't from that area. Y'all from that area. Y'all probably don't look like we do. But you know, you got your bag and you're just everybody knows you're not from that area. And so you're going out there and you got your big beach ball and your flip flops and your sunglasses and all your stuff. And we're walking out there. Well, they had just had like a hurricane. All right. So the wind was still kind of going. And so we're like, hold on now, hold on. The hair is going everywhere. Well, wouldn't you know, Heath lost that beach ball after all the blowing up we did on that beach ball. My $5 gone. So it went, and he thought, oh, and he went to get it. About that time, the wind blew it. So here he goes again, and the wind blew it. And he goes again, and the wind, till Heath and that beach ball got little. He's running, and what was so fun? I was laughing so hard. It was worth the $5. I honestly would have paid $50 to see that again. He's running. Flip flops are going crazy. He might have come out of them. I'm not sure. And he's running, and every time you think he'd get to the ball, the wind would pick it back up and take it somewhere else. And Heath is running for that thing. We were laughing so hard. But what was even more funny is there's people right along the side the ball's not even got to them yet, and I think they were entertained. They're not helping them a bit. They're just watching the ball go and watching Heath chase it, and we are laughing so hard. He never did catch that thing. I guess it's in China. I don't know what happened to that. I mean, it is gone. It's gone. So now, the funny thing, do y'all remember the little, before you had it on your phone, you had the little, what do you call them, on your dashboard? It tells you where to go. GPS. Well, our GPS on our dashboard, the next time we went to the beach, the GPS, instead of a car on the road, we put a beach ball. And the beach ball is just it's going down the road. And, of course, every time we see a beach ball now, and we get tickled out of it, Heath is like, but he probably wouldn't have ran that far now. But Betty, he was booking it. And every time he'd get close and he wanted to be cool, so he'd kind of slow down a little bit and get to it. And he'd blow again. And we kept going, go, Heath, go. And Shamray, that was some. So those are good. Those are good memories that we'll always have. And I said something one time about getting another beach ball. He said, no, Mom, no. But I'll tell you, those are good memories for us. We laugh about it. We still talk about it. But one vacation we went on, Mom, you were with us on this one. We got some devastating news. Time in my life I don't want to go back to. We got some devastating news on that, and Jean-Marie she had some devastating news, and so she's devastated. She's just not doing very well. He'd went out on a motorcycle thing, and he and Frank, and he got burnt, head to toe burnt. Sit him in front of a fan. He's doing like this. He can hardly even move. Jean-Marie's laying on the bed crying. Can I say that? She's crying. He's just sitting there, can hardly move. It was my night to cook for everybody. We're with everybody on this vacation. It was my night to cook. So I'm like, got that on me with them crying. And I said, Lord, help us. And then, of course, he's sitting in front of the fan, and he's going to do the Forrest Gump, right? You always have to pull that out, the Forrest Gump talk. So not only is he doing the Forrest Gump, but then his voice is, like it does when you're talking through a fan. And he saw joy in that and found some joy there. Devastating things, but you turn it around. And but vacations for us, we changed the name, Tyler. We named it something else. We don't go on vacations anymore. We call it something else because you say vacation and it's going to hit, right? God is so good. One last thing before I end. Give your kids responsibility. Make them work. We've had a good time. We went to the beach. They come home. They need to be responsible for things, especially as they're growing up. They need to be responsible. Happiness, I have discovered, is nearly always a rebound from hard work. I thought that was good. Happiness, I have discovered, is nearly always a rebound from hard work. You teach your kids hard work, and they will appreciate everything they've got. Sean, you know that. They will appreciate everything that they get when they have when the hard work. Sean, and he's been working in his room, and it's absolutely beautiful. All that hard work, and now look at how pretty it is, and you can sit back. You're tired, but it's a good tired. It's a good kind of tired. We need to teach our kids that, and set goals and reach for excellence. Believe in them and help them to believe in themselves. You can help your children in believing in themselves. Whatever they want to be, they can be whatever they want to be with your help and the help of God. They can be whatever it is that they want to be. When Sean was trying to decide, when she graduated, she said, Dad, I just don't know. I really don't know. And he said, well, Sean Marie, you don't have to make up your mind right now. Just because you graduated doesn't mean you got to rush off to college right then. You better know what don't waste your time in college. Know what you want. And so she went overseas for about 3.5 months. And I can remember when she came back, she's like, Dad, what do I do? What do I do? And he said, Sean Marie, have you ever thought about being a teacher? And she went, that's exactly what I want to do. And I can still remember where we were when he said that to you. And she's a teacher, and we stuck by her and helped her teach her children to take things to God and be there for them. Nobody knows your children like you do. And kids, young adults, listen to your mom. Listen to your dad. Nobody knows you. Nobody loves you more than they do. Nobody. Listen to them. If they give you advice, listen to it. Listen to that advice, because nobody loves you more than your mom and loves you more than your dad. Listen to what they say to you. If they say, hey, Tyler, I don't really think, why don't you consider this, road, or why don't you consider that? Tyler, you take that to prayer. You listen. Listen to your parents. Listen to what they say to you. Alyssa, listen to your grandma, all right? Because God put you in her hands for a reason, all right? She's older than you. She's got experience where you don't have, all right? And who knows, God may have put it on her heart to tell you a certain something. So when she speaks to you, listen to her. Listen to that. And then God will, He will reward you for your obedience. All right? So what if Shauna went and teaching wasn't her thing? Well, the Lord would have showed her. He would have guided you through this. But she was obedient, and it was exactly what she wanted, what she needed. God is so good. My mom, I don't think she ever prepared me to be a pastor's wife, because she didn't know. She grew up pastor's daughter. She didn't know I was going to be a pastor's wife, and I didn't either. But since I have become one, I'm her pastor's wife. How about that? Isn't that something? And since I have become one, my mother has been there with advice. My mother has been there to help me and to guide me, and that means the world to me. It really does. And I appreciate you people. I know this was kind of meat and potatoes, nothing fancy, but it's Mother's Day, and we're all some of us are mothers, but we all have a mother. That's one thing we do have in common. You can go on up, Sister Audrey. All of us have a mother, and I know you do, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't. So we do know what a mother is, the responsibility, and the mission of a woman. If you're not a mother, help a mother. Help another lady. Help children. Sister Joy told me this morning, she said, hey, I may not be a mother, but I know about raising children. I know some things. How many nieces and nephews do you have, Sister Joy? Around 50 nieces and nephews. Because how many children did your mother have? She had 8 children. So there's about 50 grandchildren there in that. So Sister Joy has had her share of that. I love you people. And let's stand. Let's just stand. Has God been good to you? Who in this place believes you got the best mother on the planet? Yeah, I do too. And I love that. I love it. The old song, He loves me like I was His only child. And sometimes I feel that way about my mother, although I know she doesn't. But, it's good. It's good. God is good all the time. if your mother has gone on to be with the Lord and she's not here anymore, think about her memory today. Think about something that reminds you of her. My grandparents raised me, and they helped to raise me. I moved out when I was 14 to go to, nothing bad, but to go to school there. And there's things that remind me so much of them. A puzzle. My grandmother was notorious for putting puzzles together. And a potato salad. We never make it, but just something about it. So remember those things in your home. Something that your mother did, if she's no longer here. Something about your mother that will stick with you, that you can remember. Maybe go home today, Sister Barnhill. Maybe make something that your mother would have made on a special day like today. Mom, maybe you ought to go home and make some potato salad. None of us could eat it, but you could make it, right? But it's something that she would have done that would remind you of her. It's kind of that tradition, kind of bring that out, something to remember.
Hey, thanks for checking out this latest message. We want to inspire and encourage you to be everything that God would have for you to be. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button now. You'll be connected to all of our latest videos. Thank you so much.